Welcome to the Big Brand Podcast, where we help you go from invisible to unforgettable. Hi, I'm Bhumi. I'm a brand designer. I work with founders to create strategic brand identity. Today, I'm talking to Surbi Saxena, FMCG brand and packaging designer. So, hi, Surbi. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Bhumi. Thank you for having me here on the recent place.
So, I'm gonna start at the beginning. So, you left corporate like 7 years, like after 7 years of corporate life. So, what made you take the leap?
So, yeah, I did work 9 to 5 with many e-commerce and brands for 7 to 7.5 years. And then I think I was exhausted. I was not enjoying working in corporate. It was very restrictive. Like you have to be in office and then that's scheduled meetings. And I was just not enjoying it basically. So I spoke to my elder brother and guided him, why didn't you just think about it, what you want to do? If not this, what you want to do? Uh, he just asked me, where do you see yourself in few years? What do you want to do it? And he told me few things that I'm capable of doing things other than this. If I'm not enjoying what I'm doing, which was the corporate job. So I took some time, I thought about it, and then I joined design schools, I took few courses, and that's how I discovered branding and I get this path, and now I endorse. So that's how it started.
That's good then. I mean, taking that leap is scary for like a lot of people. So like even I switched from like I was to work for an agency to going freelance full time. So it was even scary for me. So I know it's a big leap.
Yes, yeah. It was very scary for me too in the beginning, because 7 years I've given it to corporate world, and it did give me a stable, the stable job what we say if we get from 9 to 5. So and I was doing good enough in the sense I was getting promotion. I was doing well there too, but it's just that I was not enjoying it. So when I was quitting, I was happy that whatever I learned in corporate, I can execute, and those are learnings I can have it all my life. Like professionalism, it taught me team management, how to strategize it, how to plan it, how number works, how to strategize your process, and I I'm thankful that I did for I did corporate like jobs, but yeah, I was very scared too when I left because I thought, am I starting very late at my career? And like, I could have done it during earlier. Is it the right time to move out from what I had started this for, 7.5 years? So I was scared, but then I think I was also excited because I was seeing it long term because I didn't see myself working in a corporate world for, 50, 60 years of my life, about 40, 50, whatever you should take. But so I wanted to do something which I can do all my life. And I think I'm enjoying what I'm doing right now. I'm very happy that I took that TD at the right time. But yeah, I was scared too. It is very scary.
Yeah. So before you left, did you know you wanted to be in go into the design field, or was it something you figured out after you left?
No, no. So I did my research. So immediately I quit. I joined a design school. So I did my research, which course I wanted to take, how I will manage my finances and everything, how will I pay for design schools and everything. I planned it everything. There was a budget in hand which I can spend on new learnings. Um, it was a certificate call, I would say. It was not after waiting. I did not apply. It was planned. S-
So if you could go back and talk to yourself like right before you left corporate, what would you say?
Right before I left corporate, I would say good. I think I did a good thing leaving. I think I did a good thing for working for 7 years, learned the skills from there, and then I'm able to execute it. I think I did a good thing to quit. So I would just say myself good jobs. And the job that when I left it, I was scared. I was very scared. Like, will this career will also not? Like, what if I don't like this career also? What if I get overwhelmed by looking at the industry? There are so many people who are very good at designing. They started at very early age of their career. Like they studied design, they've been doing it for years, and now if I enter in the designing like this world, will I be able to sustain myself, or will I be able to learn the skill to that level that I can survive, or to that level that I enjoy and everything. So it was scary, but I think I was happy. I mean, I would say I did a good job there by taking that step. Like, I'm happy to take that step.
So you can just tell yourself, yeah, it works out. No matter how scared you are right now, it will work out.
Yeah, it will work out. And I knew that if I want to do it, if I'm very sure that I want to do it, I will make it work. So I'm happy that I didn't give up in between, because there were days where I was like, why did I choose my, job? But it worked out. So, and I was very confident about myself. And like how you said, it will work out. I know that if I put, my hard work and my passion, and you know if I do it out of passion, it will work out, and I'll be able to switch my career and be able to design it. I don't know.
I really admire that quality of determination. Like, yeah, I will make it work out. I like that.
I will-
So what's something that you can do now as a freelancer that you couldn't do in corporate?
Oh, there's so many things. There's so many things. Like, first, I can work anytime of the day from anywhere. I can travel, I can work, I can schedule my meetings anytime, and I can choose to work in night and sleep in morning. I can choose to schedule my workouts accordingly. I don't have to wait for my team to come back to me. I don't have to, sit with my manager to feel any call. I can take my own decisions. I can, sleep anytime, take a nap anytime when I want to do rest. And when my body needs rest, I can need to rest also. So I think it is not done enough. It's not, yeah.
That's something even I personally enjoy a lot, like the freedom to work according to your own schedule. Like, it's honestly such a privilege.
It's yes. And when you're loving your jobs at the same time and doing it at your own time, it's beautiful. Like, I can sit all night and work because I'm enjoying it. And there's some ideas coming in, brainstorming time is happening when, everybody is sleeping. I don't have to wait for it. I can start and finish anytime I think.
I get that. I think for me, I think I enjoy one thing that I like the most about freelancing is like making my own decisions, and like I've learned a lot more like freelancing than I did when I was working for an agency, because like when you work as an employee there, you just do the design work. You don't actually personally talk to the clients. You don't learn, the other skills like marketing, sales, and anything. Just you just do the design work. But when you're freelancing, you create like a whole bunch of skills. I had to learn copywriting. I had to learn how to be a content creator. I had to learn how to sell, to do marketing. So I enjoy that also.
That's true. It's end to end completely. I like your marketing your sales, designing it, scheduling your clients, like finding your clients about the clients are finding you. But it's a journey of it's everything you're doing. It's fun also, but you're doing it on your own.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Stuff.
So, what do you think is like the most common mistake you see in FMCG packaging?
Mistakes. Um, I think with my experience, whenever I talk to my clients, uh, first impression when I ask them what do you want to include in their packages, they would want to include everything. Like, they would want to ingredients, call outs, the marketing call outs. They want all the pictures, illustrations, and everything. So I think that is something I feel when consumers have only 3 to 5 seconds to view your packaging and decide whether they want to purchase it or not. If you give them so much information on the packaging, they will get confused where to look. And then I think it will also, build their trust towards the brand or I mean, it'll be a decision maker. Like they will be such a confusing state of mind. There's so many information. And I think that is something I feel what I see when I talk to clients. When they want to do both call outs and marketing, call outs and nutrition together. So I always tell them that the marketing would take it on the side, it let them growing your marketing on Instagram and let's say on any other account or in your social media. There's a story through which you can see the marketing how you want to market. But when it comes to the packaging, I feel you should only talk about what the product is, who it is for, so that it's easy for consumer to make decision in that those 3 to 5 seconds. So yeah, that's one thing.
Even I've seen that like a lot. Like there are packaging that I've seen which on the front everything is just screaming at you. Like everything is there on the front, and you really don't know like what am I supposed to look at first. And because of that, like if there's something specific I'm searching for, you don't find it.
Like if you are looking for that one keyword, like what product it is, and let's say I want to buy a chocolate, and if I want to buy a chocolate which just says that it is made up or the flavor of the chocolate, and this is sugar free or which what are the ingredients, I just want to read that to pick the
Yeah.
chocolate from the shelf or pick it from any quick commerce fact site American. But there are some packaging designers just saying they write it everything, like where it is coming from, what we sell for, whatever. So I think those are marketing points which can be shared with their target audience on through other media, like on through social media, however they want to art it.
I wanted to ask, like, companies like they either sell in retail or like in quick commerce, like through websites and stuff, or sometimes they do both. So, is packaging designed differently? Like, do you design it differently for like retail and for like website, like when it's sold through digital, or is it like the same?
Yes, yes. I do. So when I ask my clients, will they be selling it through Instagram? Their target audience is on Instagram mode, or like on like will they be able? Will they be going to, uh, market or sell their products on Amazon? Let's say other websites. So if they say that now, since I come from brands like this, I understand how to read other competitive brands on these platforms and how their branding looks like, what their customers want to see on those platforms, what they want to read, how the description and the packaging. Even when on e-commerce platforms, the backgrounds are white. When uh, put your products on such e-commerce website, the background is white or light gray. So I always keep in mind that the contrast should be, you know, of contrast should be there, and the brand name and the product name should be visible, so that if they zoom in, zoom out of the product basis on the placement of the product or on the picture or photography, however they take the product picture basically, even when they zoom out with white contrast, the readability is there. The package is readable, what they're selling is readable, so that the consumer can just click and buy. But when it comes to selling it on Instagram, uh, the whole design perspective changes in the sense it needs to be bright, colorful, and it needs different call outs on different posts. So, yeah, I do design differently when it comes to Gen Z market, which is sold on Instagram, so which is sold on Instagram, or which is which will be sold from commerce. Hmm. Work designer. I can just understood.
So yeah, like I've experienced this. I would say like a packaging error sort of thing. So I had bought this paw cleaner for my kitten, and so what they had done, I bought it online. And what they had done is I was trying to since it was my first time like using such a product, I didn't know like how to use it. So the first thing was like when I get the box is to kind of figure out like, okay, how do I use this thing? But all I could find was them promoting the product even after I'd bought it. So it was like, this is why I should buy it. This is what's good about us. And maybe at the bottom of the literally at the bottom, after looking for it for 5 minutes, I found out, okay, these are the instructions to use. So I feel like the hierarchy should kind of change depending on where you're selling. So like if you're selling in retail and that's the first time you see, okay, first fine, you tell me, okay, why I should buy the product, and then you tell me the benefits and stuff. But if I'm buying it online and I've already got the product, already paid for it, now instead of like telling me why I should buy it, I think you should just tell me like how to use it. I feel like that is hierarchy thing, that kind of difference there between retail and e-commerce.
Correct, correct. So I also feel packaging is not just about visuals. It's also about the functionality of the packaging because it's the experience how somebody opens the packaging, pour it, and how they also, like keep it in their kitchen shelf or let's say in the fridge or how they store it basically. So my personal experience, I use this bread. Let me know if you know this. It's called Baker's Loaves.
Yeah, yeah.
So they have designed it beautifully. I love their packaging. It's in the bread loaf, like where they keep the bread. But what happens when you open the seal, when you take one bread and click it to pour it, the side breads get crumbled. And the next time when you take the bread out, it's into pieces, like it's already broken. So it also matters. I feel the packaging, it's not just about visual, it carries a lot of like I know to make it very loud, fun, but a custom typography because again the customers only have few seconds to choose and you have to make your packaging stand out. So you use bold color, custom typography. But I think people overlook the fact that you also have to sell to the audience who can also read and understand. The packaging should communicate what this product is, who it is for. And readability is the most thing. So when you're focusing on illustration, bold colors, typography, I think your readability should not get over compromised. She taken in control. Everything should be there. Basically. The hierarchy, the layout, what would work, like the target audience of that particular product will get influenced by illustrations or will get influenced by the pictures. All those are very important factors for any brand who wants to stand out. Not, I mean, I see many packagings have illustration. My own packaging, I am a person who communicates through illustrations. But the brand or client who wants to communicate through photographs or they have different. I tell them clearly, and then I don't choose to work for that brand because I feel I won't be able to do it. My style is communicating through illustrations, and I prefer to choose brands which can be expressed through illustrations. So I also understand the product and their brand story and what where they want to see as that. That is very important. You can't just put a illustration on it.
Yeah, hi.
Eh,
So how do you like avoid getting like stuck creatively? Like, is there a process that you have for like finding inspiration, or do you just like get spontaneous inspiration, or what is it?
So I think it's a very set. I work. I have two things. If I'm very exhausted, I will reset my mind or rest my mind. I will not think about anything. I will not go and look for design. I will completely, give best to my mind and ideas. But if I'm okay to explore, either I will go outside, take a walk, look for around shades and size, colors, and then look for the store boats and everything because I have got inspirations from there too. Or I will go the deep exploration in the sense I will go to all the categories. I will explore all the categories, healthcare, fashion, we name it, and I go everywhere until I find the idea. And so until I find an idea for a particular brand I'm working on, I keep exploring or I will rest on mine. There are only two things. And because I think creatively you can be stuck anytime, but you can't stop working, right? Even if you can afford to rest your mind, you can do that. But if you cannot, then I'd go like full on, like I will explore and try find it. Yeah. And I think that is not exhausting to me. Like so when I'm exploring from like some walk or from a drive or let's say by looking at other category works, um it I just enjoy doing that because I feel there are so many other ways you can express your brand. There are so many ways you can do your package run. So I start to enjoy that after me. I look for others work on let's work has it. I just get inspiration.
Yeah. I just personally like that the fact that like you live in Bangalore and we're surrounded by like a lot of good branding. So personally when it just like enter cafes and you just see like the branding done so well, I find that quite inspiring also.
Yeah, yeah. So you visiting places also inspires a lot. You see different colors, different. So recently I went to a cafe in Bangalore. It's near Garuda Mall. It's called uh, Akaru. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but like as soon as I entered it, there was a vibe. And it was not plain beige and brown cafe. It had a story to tell. As immediately you enter, you will see it in their menu card. Just behind the counter, there is a map where it says from where they had stored the coffee beans. So it was very nice experience. I stayed there for 5 to 6 hours. It was very nice there.
I really do like how, you know, a lot of thought like goes into the experience. Like it's not just one touch point, like okay, it's just the packaging. It's also like a lot of brand touch points where the menu, they brand the tissues, the vibe they create, the music they play. Everything is like very intentional.
Very intentional. And I mean, wherever you're getting the story behind a cafe, it feels like they have put so much efforts and they have done something to make us feel something. So I love what we are doing. I love creating bands and there, Godi. It's fun.
So I want to ask about a client experience. So what would you say has been the best client experience like you've had? Like
I have had many. When it comes to experience, I feel I choose my clients very thoroughly, I would say, because I would want to know the client is very aware of what branding is and how it works. Not maybe end to end a bit, but maybe by you're designing what are the parameters which we look into it and how I don't want a client who comes with their own frame of mind that hame like we just need this color, we need this way. We just need to design it the way the other brands are doing, make exactly the way we want it. Definitely we can take inspiration if it comes from the same category and if you want to stand out in the same category as you are working. So you would see your competitors, but you if somebody is coming with a very set mindset that they want packaging colors in a certain ways, I don't go ahead with that because then it also restricts my creativity and then I know that I will be asked to do a certain way which may or may not work for the brand. So with my brand experience, I have had good clients like who have given me a complete creative freedom and just blank canvas this. You can design anything and any colors, however you want to. It's just that obviously I do ask them your question before starting what they plan to, मुझे move their target on TDC, what they want to, how they want to create themselves as a, let's say they want sleek, premium, or they want fun, bold. Basis on that, I do design. But then I have had less clients. So yeah.
I think that's like the difference, between like good clients and like, bad clients. The like certain clients like just kind of expect you to be an executioner. Like they just want you to execute, not bring in your own skills and expertise. And the good clients are like they value your expertise. They come to you because they trust you, like, yeah, you know what you're doing. So
Right.
you handle that. Like
That is so true. Sorry, Dinshan, that's so true. I mean, there have been clients who just called and said, "Ki, we have already made the logo. We just want you to put it on Illustrator so that we can take a print out." I was like, no, no, this is not how it's gonna work. And I'm not taking those things. That's why the whoever I work with, Dimpton is been very nice in terms of they are also able to communicate when they don't like the packaging on what they want. Like it's very important for me to understand if they don't like the first machine, what do they want in the mic? I mean, what they're looking for. So I have had clients who could communicate well about the wanted and uncoupling wanted, and I don't mind working uh, n number of times if the client is able to communicate and they know what they want. So I've been lucky with those types of clients where they know what exactly I want and I'm not typing. So, because when things are clear what you want and when you are delivering it, I think everyone needs it.
yeah, true.
You see?
How do you handle it when a client wants something that is like not going to work?
So in my case, so I feel clients can also be right sometimes. So it has helped me. In fact, because of one client, I had changed the color palette, and the color palette turned out so beautiful. So I do listen to them. I do go back and do my research and do the changes as they asked for. So I'll just see if they are working. Those things are working or not. If they are not working, I will go to them and I will show them that this color palette as you suggested. Let's say, for example, color palette. I'm doing color palette because it worked out for me. The client suggested to, change the color a little bit and it worked out beautifully. So I think I never say no or I never give my reasoning on spot when you need feedback or when clients want something. I always go back and do those changes as what they said and then see and study and then come up with a, a a proof kind of thing like see this is not working and how the design principle or design theory works. It may not works. I always go with some data because again I think the 7 years of working in corporate have told me that data speaks everything. So I come with data. See the data, this is what it will look like.
I think even I've sort of experienced that where the clients have like either wanted something different, and I kind of felt like okay, maybe like this is not gonna work out. But what they're at, I just kind of like show them like so that they can see it themselves, and then they're like, hey, yeah, I know you're right. The old one is better.
Correct. Correct. It's always the research document I think is always helped. Prove them, not kind of prove them, but tell them what they want would work for somebody else, but for your brand, it may not work. Probably we can, put that angle in a different way, and this could be the different way. So I always go with the revision and also one set of Volpina and then compare it and then talk about from the brand's perspective and from the brand what they look for or nothing. It's
So, so if there's a designer listening to this who's thinking about like going freelance but is like scared, so what would you tell them?
I would just say if you love designing, if you're passionate about it, just go for it. Don't think of the outcome because I remember I just started posting on Instagram. I didn't think of outcome. I was just doing it because I was liking it. I was playing with the colors. I was playing with the uh, package hierarchy and the layout. I enjoyed it how it was coming out. So I would say just keep doing it, keep posting it. Somebody will view it, somebody will approach to you, and you can also approach to brands. And if they like your work, they will. But don't stop or don't pause it because you think people will not see your work. I will still say keep doing it. It just do out of fashion, and you will figure out your facts. You will figure out something, and it will work out. So if you're liking it, just keep doing.
Yeah, I would just wanted to add, like, I think a lot of us just feel like without starting at the right time. Like, I also like I switched from like digital marketing to design and felt like, okay, I'm too late. People started way before me. That's something even you've experienced. I think a lot of us just kind of feel like we're behind. We're starting late. We're not at the right time. So I think that just kind of like that fear is there. Like, okay, So I think for anyone listening, like there is no right time. If you want to start, it's just start.
Yes, there's literally no right time. Like with my experience, I worked for 7 and 8 years and then I started design where I had zero idea how this industry work. But I can, as you said, there's no right time. If you really like to do, I mean, if you really like to design, you should just go for it. There's no end. You're passionate to do it. And I know that the fear will come, but I would just say, like, I work opposite in the sense, if I'm scared, I'll work more. Like, I'll put more hard work to it. I will lead more. Um, so I think if that helps, you can do it. But yes, disciplining yourself in the sense, make some goal. Um, have a target. Like by this month, you will finish this. Design theory. By this, you will finish the design principles, and by this, you will try to get one client. If you will, by this time, you will do a few or design projects by work more. So I think that discipline is important. But if you go step by step, you will be able to enter the this design market.
I think you can also like when you're very like in the beginning and just starting. I think I kind of started with like pro bono work, which is like free work for my like in my people in my network, whoever needed like any design work done. So I'd like design for them and other things I could so to people, okay, I have designed for someone, and it also can help me just get started. Like because when you're just like learning how to design, that's one thing. But when you're actually designing for someone else, I think that's like a completely different thing. So whatever gets you started, I think that should just start.
You just yeah. If you're getting an abortion, you just start, and most importantly, post it. You don't like it, you will like my portfolio, my work still not very. So I'm never satisfied with my own designs. So you will not like your work, but just post it. Even if it's a process you would want to post, like how you have come up to this design, just post it. I think the posting, posting my designs have changed everything for me. Uh, like I started from Instagram, but then I slowly moved to Bindi. I have met amazing people, including Bill. It's like you're doing podcast now. I met you on LinkedIn. So I think posting a work and interacting with people, going just interacting with other designers really helps. And there are very helpful designers also on his blog platform. Like if you just text them, they'll be there to help you. So if you're stuck and you feel you're alone, the thing that you have, like you can text anybody you think can help you, and they will definitely. I feel this designer community is very strong in terms of helping each other. Even I mean, on LinkedIn or Instagram, I they are very supportive. They encourage you, they motivate you, they also help you in their stuff. So I think being online now it's very important.
So one last question before we wrap up. Where can people find you if they want to reach out to you or check out your work?
Okay, there are only two platforms I'm very active. One is on Instagram. My ID is designed by Sid. And on LinkedIn it is Sid Fun.
Okay, so I'll be attaching the links for both in the description, so you can check out her work.
Sure, sure, sure.
So
Thank you, God.
Uh, much for being my guest. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so that's episode 2 of the Big Brand Podcast. If you want more of these conversations, make sure you follow along. I'll see you in the next one.